Hi there! It's time for another React Native app upgrade video. This time the upgrades are for the chat app. Now, this video is a day late, and that's because yesterday, although the upgrades were working, the connection between my laptop and my phone suddenly stopped working. And after many hours of troubleshooting, I finally figured out today that the problem was, well, I guess you could call it a zombie ADB server that was preventing me from starting a new one. So once I killed and restarted the ADB server, the laptop finally recognized my phone as an Android device again. So now I can finally make this recording because the app is installed on my phone. Anyway, since building this app in the first place gave me a lot of trouble, I decided that for my upgrades, I would get creative rather than trying to implement new modules that had the potential to create a bunch of errors. So I actually chose my upgrades to be 3 bots that can have simple conversations with the user. Well, they're part bot and part prank, but you'll see that for yourself. Anyway, as you can see right here, the app looks the same as before, and it works the same too. I mean, I can create a thread. I'll call it, here. This is because my phone is still plugged in. Here, I'll unplug my phone so that message doesn't keep popping up. That has nothing to do with my app. Okay, as I was saying, you can create a normal thread just like before, and it all works normally, no issues. However, if I use a secret code word, then I can create a special thread with a bot in it. So here I'll show you one. If I put in the word bot, like so, you'll see that the name was actually changed to FriendlyBot. And then when I open the thread, it'll start to communicate with me. See? This is a message from Mr. Friendly. You'll notice that this message is not from the user, that's why it has its own, it's not blue, and it's on the left, and it has its own name. Now, if I start to talk to Mr. Friendly, he'll respond accordingly. Like that. Anyway, so that's one bot, but there are 2 others that have different algorithms. So if I create a thread called future, then you'll see this bot right here. Now, watch what happens when I give this response. See, it simulates precognition, so it predicts what I type before I post it. Anyway, the third bot is actually my favorite one, and that's one that will be created if I create a thread called motivate. And this one, well, all 3 of the bots have slightly different algorithms, but this one is the most unique because it'll actually randomly generate messages to me as long as I keep talking to it. Well, it has the potential to generate the same one more than once, because there's only 10 different options. Let's see. Anyway, you get the idea. So these upgrades involved new code in 3 different files. And some of the code is similar because these 3 bots were implemented in similar ways, but then had different algorithms, so there are definitely differences. So for the first 2 files, the code is pretty similar between the 3. In newthread.js, that's how the special threads are created. So if one of the 3 secret words is entered, then the correct type of thread is generated. You see that here. If the name is bot or future or motivate, then the special threads are created. That's what happens in this file. Then in the second file, this index.js, the reason that this file needed adjusting is because it's where the code for create message is. And I actually added right here a new input parameter called source, and I needed to do that because I needed to be able to create a message under the name of a bot rather than the user. So then based on what source is passed in, if the source was the bot or precognate or motivate, then the correct ID and display name will be used instead of the standard user ID and user display name. That way their initials show up and the bots aren't tagged as your messages, because that wouldn't make any sense. Anyway, but most of the new code is inside messages. For each of the bots, there's a message when in the componented mount, so basically when you open the thread each time, then the bot will give the introductory message, basically introducing itself and giving you either a question or some instructions. Oh, and you'll notice that there's here's the third parameter that is being passed in, the one that I mentioned on the other screen, that gives you the source. So that then most of the the algorithm and what it says is all in here inside the handle send, because if you remember from the original code, handle send is what happens when you press the send button to type a message. Basically, the original create message is right here. The only thing that's different about it is I had to add the source to it. I just called it standard. Didn't really matter what I called it as long as it wasn't the name of the 3 bots. And then all around it are all the if statements based on different things what's the name of the thread? Is it a special thread? What text did the user put in? In the case of the motivational one, picking one of the 10 random messages. Based on all those different things, it will create different messages with the correct source so that it has the correct name and ID and all of those things.